Hello everybody, Jennifer Maker here. It's a beautiful day to make an intricately cut backlit shadow box with a new technique and a material you might not expect. I'll never stop loving shadow boxes. There are so many different ways to make them and subjects to include. But sometimes I'm delighted by the addition of a new material or technique I haven't used before. Aren't these gorgeous? I just love how the design shines so brightly against the darker solid parts. Now, typically, shadow boxes have multiple layers, and these technically do too, but I'll explain how and why in a moment. What makes these so lovely is how we bend the cut layers to create brilliant lights and captivating shadows across the shadow box's three-dimensional surface. Plus, do you see this color peeking through this design? Stay tuned to find out how to do that. I just love how these turned out and I can't wait to make more. I also have information on how you can create your own backlit shadow box design, so stay tuned until the last step to learn about that. I love sharing designs with you, but I also love to see what you can create too. Now, no matter which design you pick, you can make it using the step-by-step tutorial and the supplies from my materials list. So first, you're going to need some 80-pound cardstock and some permanent adhesive vinyl. Now you might be thinking, wait, Jennifer, cardstock and vinyl? Yes, that's right. We'll apply permanent adhesive vinyl to the back of the cardstock before we cut it. Why? Well, there are a few good reasons. The first is that the backing of the cardstock with vinyl tends to create much cleaner cuts on intricate designs like these, more so than if you were to use cardstock alone. Another reason is that the added layer of vinyl blocks more of the LED lights you'll place inside, meaning you won't see them shining behind the solid parts, but they'll beam even more brightly through the cut ones. The third reason is that backing the cardstock with colored vinyl gives a peak of color through the cuts. It's really pretty when it's lit up, but it also adds some colorful interest when the shadow box is turned off. You can use any color you like, but I especially love the results I got with darker colored vinyl, like this deep teal blue. It blocks out more light than the lighter colors too, so you don't see as much light filtering through the solid parts. We'll experiment with some silver shimmer vinyl as a backer for the cardstock as well. How do you think it will turn out? We're going to find out together. The shimmer vinyl back cardstock cuts well with the same settings as the cardstock back with regular permanent vinyl, but with one small sticking point that I'll tell you about later. Besides the cardstock and vinyl, you may want to have some vellum for this project too. It's not required, but you can use it to soften the glow of the lights through the cut areas of the design. I love the way they look with the vellum, but they look really pretty without it too. To cut my materials, I used a Cricut cutting machine. My free download has SVG and DXF files that you can use with other kinds of cutting machines as well. There's also a PDF that you can use to cut by hand, but a cutting machine will save you a lot of time and hand cramps. Now, what's a shadow box without the box? I used a 10 by 10 inch shadow box frame, and the designs in my free files are sized perfectly to fit them. I'll show you how to add an LED light strip to the inside of the frame and how to turn them on and off from the outside. I've got a full list of the tools and supplies, plus links on where to find them in my materials list. It's over on my blog at jennifermaker.com/616. That's where you'll also find written instructions with helpful photos and tips too. So, are you ready to get started? Let's start with how to get the free designs and then we will make it happen. Step 1, get my free backlit shadow box designs. First, download my free designs at jennifermaker.com/616. You can either download right from that link by saving the project or download from my entire free design collection. To find it, look for libraries in the red bar at the top, and then click either get a password if you don't yet have one, or click enter the library. Search the page for design number 616 and click the link to download the designs. If you're not sure how to use these files, go to jennifermaker.com/svgs to learn how to download and unzip files. There are 3 design files in the SVG folder to fit a 10 by 10 inch shadow box. There's a cute butterflies design, a lovely floral design, and a gorgeous succulent mandala design. There's also a DXF folder with cut files and a PDF folder with versions that you can cut by hand if you need to. But a cutting machine makes this project much more manageable. I'm using a Cricut Maker 3 cutting machine today, but the files can be cut on any Cricut or really any cutting machine. Step 2, prepare and cut your backlit shadow box. First, let's prepare some of the materials for our shadow box. Place a 12 by 12 inch sheet of cardstock on your work surface. If you're using a patterned or specialty cardstock, place it pretty side down. Now use a paper trimmer to cut a piece of adhesive vinyl at least 10.5 inches square, but no larger than 12 by 12 inches. The grid on the back can help. Each square is 1/2 inch. We'll apply this vinyl to the back of the cardstock to block out more light so the design really shows brightly. I'm using teal vinyl to let a fun pop of color peek through between the cuts when it's done, but you can apply shimmer vinyl the same way for a different effect. Backing the cardstock with vinyl also helps you get super clean cuts on even the most intricate spots. Starting on the short end of the vinyl, peel off the backing about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. Fold the backing down and crease it to keep it out of the way. Turn the vinyl over and align the top and left edges of the sticky side with the top and left edges of your cardstock. After it's lined up, carefully press the vinyl down against the cardstock. Use an extra large scraper tool to press along the vinyl that's attached to the cardstock to smooth it out and get rid of any bubbles. Peel the backer off little by little with one hand, and use the other with your scraper to press the vinyl onto the cardstock, pushing out wrinkles and bubbles as you go. Once the vinyl is completely adhered to the cardstock, flip it over and check if any excess vinyl shows along the sides. If you see any, trim it off with scissors. Just be careful not to cut the cardstock. To make your project in Cricut Design Space, start on a blank canvas, then click the Upload button and then select Upload Image. Click Browse and find the design that you want in the SVG folder. I'll use the succulent file. Then click Upload to add it to the canvas. I'll click Save and give my project a name before we get further. With the design selected, click the Ungroup icon. I always recommend ungrouping designs when you add them to your canvas, as they'll be grouped by default. Drag the top layer with the design to the side so you can see both layers. We'll cut the white layer with a design from layered vinyl and cardstock. The gray layer is optional and can be cut from vellum to soften the glow of the lights. If you don't want to use it, you can delete it now. I'm going to keep mine though. Now it's time to prepare your material, then cut it out. Select the correct machine from the top right drop-down menu and then click Make. On the Prepare screen, make sure the correct base material size is selected for your materials. 12 by 12 inches is perfect. Click back on the first mat so it will show first on the next page, and then click Continue. Let's set the base material for the first mat. I'm cutting the vellum piece for my shadow box, so I'll click Browse All Materials and search for vellum. I'll select it, click Done, and keep the pressure setting set to default. Now place a piece of vellum, at least 11 by 11 inches, onto a green standard grip machine mat. That is, if you're going to cut vellum, right? And then use a brayer to fully and evenly adhere it. Check that your premium fine point blade is clean and in the clamp, and then press the flashing load button to load your mat into your machine, and then press the flashing go button to begin cutting. When it's finished cutting, don't unload the mat right away. Instead, gently peel up a corner of the material to make sure it is cut all the way through. If it isn't, just press that middle button again to make the same cuts in the same spots. When the cuts are complete, unload your mat, flip your mat over onto your work surface, and roll it back to release the cut vellum. Doing it like this should prevent ripping or tearing. Now it's time to prepare and cut the layered cardstock and vinyl piece. On the mat with the design, click Browse All Materials and choose the Cardstock for Intricate Cut setting. And use more pressure to ensure a really clean cut through both layers. Place the vinyl cardstock combination vinyl side down onto a green standard grip machine mat. Make sure the area of cardstock not covered by vinyl is either at the bottom or on the right side. Shimmer vinyl has a slight texture to it, so if you're using that kind of vinyl, you'll need a stickier mat to keep the materials in place during cutting. I like a purple strong grip machine mat for that, but a brand new super sticky green standard grip mat might be strong enough too. And use a brayer to fully and evenly adhere the vinyl and cardstock to the mat. Now with a clean premium fine point blade in the clamp, press the flashing load button to load it into your Cricut, and then press the flashing go button to begin the cut. When it's done cutting, remember to lift a corner and check if the cuts went all the way through before you unload that mat. If they didn't, smooth the material back down, press that middle button again to make a second round of cuts in the same spots. And then when everything is complete, unload your mat and flip your mat over onto your work surface and roll it back to release the material. Doing it like this really helps prevent the material from curling and tearing. There are delicate spots, so use a spatula to help lift them from the mat without tearing them off. Here is what my cut and weeded design looks like. Step 3. Assemble your backlit shadow box. Place the design vinyl side down on your work surface. Starting with the outer shapes, fold each cut piece up at an angle to add a crease at the base of each petal. You can use your small scraper tool to help get a straight crease on your folds. As you move toward the center of the design, gradually fold the pieces at a larger angle. This will help the light shine through more evenly when the finished shadow box is lit up. Once the cut areas are folded, grab your shadow box frame. Place the frame face down on your work surface. Remove the backing and take out the inner spacer piece. Then take out the glass. Be very careful not to run your fingers along the edges of the glass. It is sharp. Flip the design over so the vinyl side is facing up. Then, making sure that the top of the design is pointed away from you, insert it into the shadow box frame. Carefully set the frame aside on a flat surface for now. The vinyl is rigid enough to keep the layers from falling through the frame, but be careful not to squish the folded layers as you move it around. Now let's add the best part, the lights. Grab the frame's inner spacer piece and place it on your work surface. Insert the right batteries into the light's battery compartment, then turn them on to make sure they work before you move on. Find the end of the strip light connected to the battery pack. We'll attach this end first. I find the light strip easier to work with if I unroll it all the way first. Peel back the adhesive backing a couple of inches. Then, starting at a bottom corner inside the inner frame piece, begin pressing the sticky side of the lights along the very top edge. Continue pressing the light strip along the edge, keeping the strip as straight and flush as possible. As you come to the corners of the inner frame piece, press the light strip as squarely as possible into each corner. When you come back around to the spot where you started applying the lights, angle the strip so you can start another row parallel to the first. You can fit 3 rows of strip lights snugly along the inside of the inner frame. Make sure to press each row up against the previous one to fit them all. When you reach the end of your last row of lights, find the closest spot on a light strip with a plus, minus, and scissors symbols, like this. Then just use your scissors to cut on that line. Press the loose end of the lights onto the inner frame piece and throw away the rest of the cut light strip. Now it's time for the finishing touch. Grab the shadow box frame with the design inside. Be careful, since those folded pieces underneath may bend or tear if handled roughly. Carefully place it face down on your work surface so the top of the design is pointing away from you. If you cut a piece of vellum to diffuse your lights, place it inside on top of the design. Next, carefully pick up the piece of glass and place it inside the shadow box frame. Remember not to slide your fingers along the edges or corners of the glass. It's very sharp. Now the design and vellum are sandwiched between the frame and the glass on the inside. Place the frame's inner frame piece with the lights into the shadow box on top of the glass. Make sure that the wire leading to the battery pack is on the bottom. But if there's a wire hanging out of the frame, we won't be able to put the frame's piece back on. Let's fix that. Set the frame aside once more. Grab the frame's backer piece and place it on a self-healing cutting mat so the hanger is facing up at the top. Carefully use a craft knife like the Cricut True Control knife to cut a small diagonal notch in the same corner as where the wire hangs out on the frame. Be patient, as it will take several passes of the knife to cut through the board. Don't push too hard either, or the blade may slip. Once you cut through to the softer padding, keep using the knife to cut through it the same way as the harder part. Now let's finish our shadow box. Place the frame back on your work surface with the top of the design and the hanging hardware positioned the same way. But leave a few inches closest to the battery pack hanging out the corner. Insert the frame backer piece with a notch lined up with the wire. Then push the metal prongs down over the backer to hold everything in place. You can attach the battery pack to the backer with glue dots. Just make sure the access to the batteries is left on the outside, so you can change them. Flip the frame over and adjust any folded pieces if needed. Step 4, show it off. Here's what my finished backlit shadow box looks like. Use the remote to turn the lights on for a beautiful display. Step 5, customize it. Want to make a backlit shadow box using your own design? It would be so awesome, wouldn't it? I can show you how to design your own using my toolkit along with free tools in Cricut Design Space. Once you know the steps, you can create your own backlit shadow box projects. The tutorial is part of a special program called Advance with Jennifer Maker, which helps expand your crafting skills by teaching you how to make these popular designs unique and special through tutorials and templates, as well as give you advanced access to my vast library of designs, projects, and resources. I may or may not be accepting new members into the advanced program at the time you see this, but if you're interested, go to jennifermaker.com/advance to learn more, peek inside, see what we're making, and see how it all works. We would love to have you join us. So what do you think? Didn't these turn out beautifully? I love how the colored vinyl looks white when the lights are off, but the color really shines when they're turned on. Now using this silver shimmer vinyl instead gives the illusion of no vinyl, just paper like a traditional shadow box. It looks white when the lights are off and when they're on. Which do you prefer, the shadow box with the colored vinyl or the shimmer? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to know what you think. I can't personally decide. I really love both. They are a delight to make and even better to admire once they're shining brightly on display. Just make sure you have the right machine mat for your type of vinyl, you handle the glass carefully, and you have fun. Always have fun when you're crafting. So, are you ready to make your own backlit shadow box? If you need any help making one, there are reference photos in the tutorial on my blog post at jennifermaker.com/616. And remember, you can visit jennifermaker.com/advance for more information on learning to design your very own backlit shadow box. The amazing things that you can make will astound you. Do you really want to make one of these but don't have a cutting machine? I got it. So like I said earlier, a Cricut will make this so much easier. So I'd love to see you get one too. Yes, you. I regularly do a Cricut machine giveaway over on my blog, so enter for the chance to win and get all of the giveaway details at jennifermaker.com/Cricut giveaway. I'd love for you to win and make your own shadow box. If you have any questions about working with cardstock, your Cricut machine, or anything else craft related that you think I could help you with, please let me know. You can leave your question below this video or come ask in our Cricut Crafters group at jennifermaker.com/Cricut Crafters. And please share photos of your shadow boxes or your other projects too. We love to see them. And that's it for today. Until next time, this is Jennifer Maker reminding you to craft a life you love.